Mr. Burley from the York Catholic District School Board. I'm going to use two different softwares today. AutoCAD primarily, but we're going to output to VEXcode VR. In VEXcode VR, we're going to ultimately program something. I'm going to use the top camera. We're going to program something to draw in this box, and we're going to use the robot. So let's rewind this particular one. I'll show you. This box is 1800 by 1800. The center is 0, 0. So x-axis positive, x-axis negative, y-axis positive, y-axis negative. And this quadrant, we got quadrant 1, which is positive x, positive y. Quadrant 2, which is negative x, positive y. Quadrant 3, which of course is negative x, negative y. And then quadrant 4, which is positive x, negative y. So we're going to draw in this box here, but we're going to use AutoCAD to draw the CAD, to draw the object. And then we'll use AutoCAD to measure the points, the Cartesian points, to then come back into this software and program the robot. In the background, it's Python coding. We're going to be using block coding to do that. In this particular software, we can't change the block coding or the Python. You can't edit it. On our desktop stuff, we can, but in here, we can't. It doesn't matter anyways, because this is a lot of the ways that robots are programmed in the real world anyways, is they just drop in boxes and address the IO and so on. So let's get started here. I'm going to click the start, and you can see what this robot's going to do. He's going to come up. First of all, he's running at 500% velocity. Pen goes up initially as a default, and then you see he drives forward to these positions, puts the pen down, and sets the color black, puts it down, and drives around. Right now, I just did this general shape. You can click these different items here, and then you can see the different views that you have with it. Okay, so we're going to click stop right now, rewind it. I'm going to go back to the top view. And again, this is 1800 by 1800. When I draw it in AutoCAD, I'm not going to go quite 1800 wide. I'm going to go slightly narrower. And the reason I'm doing that is because when the robot comes to the end, if you send it to say 800 negative, it won't have the space to turn around. It'll hit against the wall. So in order to prevent that from happening, I'll send it negative 850 instead of 900. Just keep that 50 millimeter buffer. Okay, so we're going to go back to the AutoCAD now. We're going to go to AutoCAD. I'm assuming this is the first time you've used AutoCAD. We're going to click Start New Drawing here. And this will come up. Let's make sure, first of all, let's get started. Let's look down here and make sure it says decimal. You come up here to the scarlet letter A, Drawing Utilities, Units. And in here, you can change things. Right now, we're not going to worry too much about precision, but I want to make sure it is set to decimal. And it does say inches down here. This is the insertion scale. So this, if you want to draw in feet and inches, you'd switch to architectural or engineering decimal, and you get fractional and scientific and all the rest of it. We're going to use decimal for today. Click OK. Now, the UCS right here, which is the 0, 0, 0 for the Cartesian plane, it is in the bottom left-hand corner. And when you open AutoCAD up, it's in quadrant 1 always. And normally you program stuff in quadrant 1, like CNCs and such too. But I'm going to zoom in, and you want to bring it to the center like this. Okay. Now, I want to click first, I'm going to click Layer Properties here. I'm going to create a new layer. So I'll click this little button here, and let's call the layer Perimeter. And I want to double click it here and make it active. All right, I'm going to leave the color white, and I'm going to leave all the line weights and everything. We don't really need to change that. I'm just drawing the perimeter so that we can then draw something within the perimeter, and then we can program it. So click X out of this thing for a second, and I'm going to come in here and grab my line tool. When I grab the line tool right now, it won't grab a hold of that UCS because there's nothing there. There's nothing for it to grab. So in order to start it at 0, 0, you go 0, 0, 0, enter. What that's doing is locking it at X and Y axis and the Z axis at 0. Don't put a comma after the last 0, just hit enter. Okay, now we're going to walk to the left-hand side. And when we walk over to the left-hand side, we're going to go 850 millimeters. Enter. We're going to hit the escape key now. I'm going to scroll out, and I want to check and make sure that is 850 millimeters. So measure tool, because it's really easy to input the wrong number, and you don't want to draw a bunch of stuff and find out you're wrong. So 850, perfect. So line tool, this time it will grab. Now, if it doesn't grab, it could be because this is set to low here. You see this, how it's blue? Blue means it's on, it's working. Brown, black means it's off, it's not working. So you want the object snap to be on. The other thing is if it still won't grab, maybe one of these things are deselected. You see here, we got midpoint, we're going to select midpoint, all these different things. You'll have to turn them off and on a fairly regular basis because sometimes you want the line to anchor somewhere and sometimes you want to input it somewhere where you don't want it to anchor. So line tool, click on the center here. And now we're going to walk to the right-hand side. We're going to write 850, enter, escape. And now let's check that again. Measure. This is 850, Perfektenschlagen. This is 850, Perfektenschlagen. Okay, so now I'm going to use, there's a whole bunch of different ways we could do this box. I'm drawing the box. I could click the line tool and I could draw up here 850 and I could go over here and go back down. But instead, make it simpler. I'm going to use the offset command. This is, I draw, you'll find as you get into AutoCAD, you'll find your own ways you're comfortable in drawing. There's hundreds of different ways to do everything. You can input it mathematically, you can do all kinds of different things. I tend to lean towards the offset command. So 850, offset this guy up, this one up here, and this one down, and this one down as well. And now let's close that box in. Click the line tool right here. Click here, walk down there. Notice it's grabbing the end. If it's not grabbing the end, maybe you've got this selected endpoint turned off. So you're coming in here and you're going, oh, why won't it grab? Why won't it grab? Oh, wait a second. Maybe my thing's turned off. Oh, no, it's turned on. Well, it's still not grabbing. Well, maybe that's because right here, endpoint. So select your endpoint. Now come back and still doesn't turn on. Oh, did I turn it on? Yeah, I did. So escape, line tool, and grab the end, the escape key. AutoCAD will stay locked in a command. I might have mentioned this earlier, locked in a command. And so you're going to get in the habit of hitting the escape key a couple of times because you'll be trying to do something, it won't be working. You're like, why is this not working? And then you realize you're still locked in the last command. So line tool, I'm going to walk down here, select there, line tool over here, select here, beautiful. Now we do not need these center lines. So let's highlight and delete it. One way is click it and hit delete on your keyboard. Another way is to use up here, click and delete this. My phone's vibrating. I'm going to move my phone. I'll move my phone over there. Now, so let's double check one more time. Again, before we go too far, make sure everything's the right size. 1700, perfect. 1700 down here, 850, 850, 17. So that's the quick measure. Excellent. So another thing we're going to be using here is utilities ID point. This will now enable us to copy the Cartesian position of each of our lines so that or points, so that when we go back into the VR software, we can program it using that information. Okay, which is the way we program CNCs as well. So now I'm just going to draw something really simple. I'm going to expect more complicated project from you. As you know, in my rubrics, that's what I say, in the degree of complexity and them, how complex. So you're gonna go out your way. We're gonna stay using straight lines for now, and we're going to use the straight lines to then create vectors, of course, to go into take those vector information back later on. But straight lines, and we're going to use no radiuses or circles right now. We'll do that a little bit later. We'll add some complexity to the next one, but for right now, let's keep it simple. So straight line. I'm just going to draw something really dead simple. I'm just going to draw a house here, maybe up here like this, and zoom in. Oh, let's back up. I did this wrong. Delete. Let's add a new layer. I'm a big fan of adding layers. Let's call it object. We'll click it to make it active. And then let's change the color to something cool, like that you can see on the screen. If you choose dark blues are cool, but it's really hard to see it. Click OK, exit out of that, and now my line tool. Unfortunately, I chose a color that's exactly the same color as my crosshairs. Probably wasn't prudent. Hard to differentiate. I'm just making something simple right now. This is a garage, and sketched around like this, and I'm going to go up this way. Actually, I'm going to come over here like this, and I can come up maybe a second story and walk this direction. Now, AutoCAD can predict. Like right now, you can see it's the green lines projecting out. It's assuming you want to make a 90-degree line, right? If you don't, you type in the number and then tab like that, and it will switch to the angle. And I'll show you that in a second. So line tool, and walk over this way. Now you can come down here and tickle this and walk up. Now sometimes this works really well and other times it doesn't. I don't know if it's my graphics card. Today it's not working. A lot of times you grab it here and you can just walk up and it'll predict you want to go the same length as this line here. but it's not working for some reason today on mine. No worries. I'm going to come here and grab a line tool and walk up this direction. Actually, now I did that partially so you could see something. You see how this line's sticking out right there? Well, you don't want it to be. You want it to be attached. So what you can use, this is a trim command. The trim command's a couple of things. Trim command can extend a line, so I could bring this line here over, extending lines, or I can switch it to trim off something. So you can see it. So you can see the difference right there. Cut off or extend. So we're cutting off. I want to cut that off. Now double click the escape key, so I'm out of that particular. Now I'm going to click the line tool. I'm going to come here. Now here's another example. Let's say the midpoint wasn't selected, and we went to do our line tool. I want to grab the midpoint, but it's not grabbing the midpoint. Why is it not? It should be easily grabbing the midpoint. Well, again, same thing, because midpoint is turned off. So we'll turn midpoint on. Now I should be able to draw a line right from the center. You see how it grabs it? The triangle indicates that it's the midpoint. I'm going to walk up for the roof, and I come back down here, some arbitrary angle, and same with here, back down. And I don't need this guy right here. Let's get rid of him. And now what we can do is let's put the garage door in. So I can offset with garage door. I can go like this. I can say, let's offset, I don't know, 20 millimeters. And I could offset this guy here over and this guy here over. And then I could say, let's bring a line from, I don't know, line tool. Let's offset again. And this dimension from here up, I don't know. Let's say that's 1,000. Or let's say 500 maybe. 500 is a bit tall. So I delete that. A little trial and error here. Hit the escape key again because you're locked in command. Delete. Offset command here. And let's say 300. Enter. And make the top of the garage door 300. There we go. That's better because now you have a space in the top to put bicycles and stuff. So now we got lines all over the place and you can't see the garage door. This is it here, right? So we can back up and grab our trim tool. Like trim off that guy. Trim off this. And zoom in. We don't need this little guy here, and we don't need this little guy here. So there you have a garage door. You can continue, like we can draw the door in here now. So let's, before I do the door, I'm going to select the door. You see how it's grabbing the midpoint? It's grabbing the midpoint of this line from here to here. Well, I want my door to be central from here to here, right? Not from there to there. So you have to deselect your midpoint. Click your line tool now and come in here. And again, now it's grabbing the endpoint. I don't want to grab the endpoint. So you can shut this off completely and you can just come in here like this and draw your door in. You're going to draw a better door, proper sizes and all the rest of it. And then we'll trim this off here and here, and we got the door. And we can continue. We can draw a window up here like this. You're going to do a much better job. Your house is going to be much nicer looking than this one. This is strictly for, let's turn the snap back on. Walk this way. Still can't get it to work. No big deal. Back here like that. Let's trim off that little line here. I'll draw another window down here. I'm going to follow. And I want it underneath the other one exactly. So I can touch here and walk down, and it should predict. See, it's kind of. I see what he wants to. They want to follow that. Same with this thing here. So now I can go the same width, right? So the window's the same width. Coming down here like this, tickle that guy. That one won't work. No big deal. Line tool, click here, walk down this way, and whoop, escape, and let's delete those things here. So we're going to trim off this guy and trim off this guy, and you can get fancier. You can do nicer windows. This house is somewhat ugly. And now I'm going to show you one last trick before we exit out. I'm going to show you how to take all this information right here, and I don't want to go over here and redraw all these windows. There's got to be a way to copy these and paste them over there, but I want them in an exact position. So what you do is you window it all in carefully so you only get those windows. And you can use the mirror command. So mirror. It says, so I've already selected these things. So it says now specify the first point on the mirror plane. So I want to select the center of that because I want to flip it onto this side. I want this to be mirror image over here. That's not grabbing. Why is it not grabbing? Well, probably got my midpoint turned off, and I do. So now I'm going to come back up. Because I selected midpoint, I lost my mirror command. So I go back into the mirror command, and now I can click here, and I can take those windows and right over like that. Oh, I always do that. I always forget to click. So mirror command, specify the mirror point here as swing into position, click it, and enter. And now I have my windows. I unlocked my. So there's my house. Now again, like I said, what we're going to be using this information is we're going to, let's say we wanted to draw this wall over here. We come over here, ID point, and select that point right there. And you can see right there on the bottom, there's the Cartesian position of it. So it's in quadrant 1, so it's negative, negative, negative 616.0459, negative and 557, and so on. You can copy it and paste it into the other number thing, or you can just walk over and type it in. And so what you do is you would send your robot to that position first, right? Then you would drop your pen down. Then you'd send your robot up to this position. So you come up here and go ID point, and you'd send your robot ID point right here. You'd send your robot to that position. Then you'd send your robot wherever you like, that position, then this position, then back to this position. Then you lift your pen up and you drive the robot way down over here. You could drive down the same line, or you could faster to go on a 45-degree angle to here, and so on. So that's how we program the robot the simple way using AutoCAD. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to draw this box out, save your file. We'll show you a little bit in the next video how to save it properly. But I'd like you to draw something nice and complicated, use your imagination, do some cool designs, maybe think about your own house. What does it look like? Or maybe you want to do your initials or something along those lines. Okay, thank you. I'm going to stop recording. Oh, yeah.